Jessica Alstrom, spiritual teacher, medical intuitive, and quantum integration specialist, answers your spiritual questions and assists you through understanding your personal process while providing tools and techniques to move swiftly through the journey back to light.
Hello and welcome to Transcendence Wellness Center's podcast. This is your host, Jessica Alstrom, and I have about an hour between clients, and so I decided after hopping on Facebook and looking at an email train on Messenger of my fantastic group that we have all over the world that comes together to create support systems. It felt very heavy when I checked in on you guys just a few minutes ago. So I thought, for the next hour, I am going to have some fun with this podcast, and I am going to make life feel a little bit magical with this awesome approach that I use to manifesting our heart's desires, connecting with divine purpose, and just becoming that deliberate creator and not questioning yourself so darn much. The premise for today's podcast is actually called Intention and the Treasure Hunt. And basically, I am going to be creating an animation about this because it is so fantastic when you understand that life is nothing but a game. And yes, you're here to learn things. And yes, you're here to master certain aspects of darkness. And a lot of my podcasts lately have been pretty heavy because, I work with people every day. And until you really become aware of why you do the things you do, you can't really own them and forgive certain aspects. And it's important that you don't lose sight of the joyful game that you're here to play. So I wanted to jump into it and talk to you about what actually happens when you set an intention. And, you've heard this forever. Set the intention, especially around the new moon, and you do a ceremony, and then, you imagine yourself with whatever you want, and you focus, and it's all good. And let me ask you, how many new moon intentions actually come true for you? Exactly. So I want to share with you from a higher perspective what the game actually looks like when you create it. So when you set an intention, the game gets created. And what happens is as soon as you set an intention and you hold that pure desire in your body, it manifests immediately in the fourth dimension. Now, a fourth dimension is where basically time and space don't exist. It's the holding tank of things desired. It's where all of your desires are basically awaiting for you to line up with them. And so for you to manifest something that you've created at all, you need to become a vibrational match to that. Well, how do you become a vibrational match to something that you want when you don't have it? Well, that's how the game is formed. So you look at intention, you look at manifestation like one big treasure hunt. And I'm going to go through the 7 steps of manifestation with you in a integrating third, fourth, and fifth dimension, because the game has changed a little bit. In third dimension, when you would manifest something, it would take a lot of time. It would take, a lot of willpower and focus and, and waiting, because, third dimensional manifestation is about time and space. Well, we're in different energy now. So although the game is still pretty much the same when we look from above, there's a lot more shortcuts that we can take. And we can be a lot more aware of how the game is actually playing, and we can move out of that amnesia to the point where we can use our sixth sense a lot more to get us to the game. The end result, which is, if I set the intention, and I'm just going to use money because money's kind of, it's common. Everybody thinks that money is going to get them the joy, the love, the respect, the freedom, and all the things that they want. So we use that as the idea. Okay, so just for the preference of this particular podcast, I'm going to use money. And so if I sit down and I start going through my 7 steps of manifestation, and I will actually read those before I dive into the game so that you can see how it's all going to unfold, is the first one is to visualize. Visualize what it is you want, because I will tell you, most people don't do that. Most people don't even just sit down and decide what they want. So that's a huge first step. And the second step is to actually intend it. Intend, to put in, to build. Okay, so as I shoot this rocket of desire out of my energy field that is into the quantum field, all of those atoms begin to percolate and create form. And as it creates form, it's going to hold a very unique vibration. And now I have to raise my vibration in order to match what I have just built. Okay? So I have to now build my energy up to match the frequency of what I've just desired. And I will tell you that when you came down to this density, this planet, you had certain tools built within you so that you wouldn't get lost. Even though you couldn't remember, who you were, you have your intuition, which is your gut, your knowing. You have desire, which is the engine of manifestation. Desire is going to be that pulling force that's never going to shut down unless you become very, very numb. And it is always going to be calling you, and it is always going to be urging you. And that's going to be your basically your engine that's going to keep you moving forward. And then you have the synchronicities of the unseen guidance that's all around you that helps keep you on track. So when you come down into this life with your self-chosen limitations, your themes, your soul contracts, and that's your characters that are going to be playing and reminding you of, what you're doing on the planet and helping you both get lost and found on the journey, you have all of your initial toolkit built right into you. And your navigation system, what is going to be basically telling you to keep moving left, right, forward, or backwards is going to be your feelings, your emotional state of being. And that's what you've got to check into more. And honestly, you got to learn to trust it. And the game will provide all of that aspect for you. So look at intention, look at manifestation as soon as you set an intention, a beautiful treasure map is formed. Right there. And just as you imagine it and intend it, it is created. The treasure is there. So let's use analogy of money. So I want to create $1 million. So I am going to set the intention that I have $1 million and I'm going to do this, 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 and this with it. And the reason why I want $1 million is because what I really want underneath the symbol of money is I want freedom. I want to be able to work where I want to work or not work. I want to be able to feel how I want to feel and not be caught up in a codependent relationship that's taking care of me. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to know more of who I am through travel and experiences. I want to be generous. There's so many people I want to help. There are so many things I want to experience. And to me, money feels like the right symbol to choose in order to start creating all of that. So I set the intention, I want to create $1 million. And that is my human intention. My soul intention is I want to create freedom. So right as I've done that, I have basically built my own treasure map between me and my higher self, and everything has been completely designed to get me to where I want to go. But if $1 million is a vibration of freedom, and I don't hold the vibration of freedom within my body and within my mind, then I have to go build that vibration. So what I do is I begin to walk my treasure map, and I move forward based on how I feel. And the 7 steps of manifestation are basically visualize, set the intention, imagine as if it's done, and then wait for the inspired action, because the inspired action will actually begin to pull me in the direction of what it is that I'm seeking. And I will tell you that inspired action usually feels very non-logical. It feels very time wasteful. It feels like the wrong thing to do sometimes from the mind's perspective, but from the intuition, it's telling you to go left instead of going your normal right. And that is a shortcut. But if you don't learn to trust yourself, then you're going to have lots of obstacles on your treasure map that are going to teach you how to trust. Okay? So if I were going to look above and I see my beautiful treasure map, and all of a sudden I look down and I see valleys and pitfalls and tar pits and lions' dens and dark forests, I'm going to say, what? I got to walk through all of this in order to get the money. Well, yeah. And that's why you don't believe the law of attraction works for you, because the second you hit the corridor where it's the dark forest and all you have to do is walk through it, you say, this stuff doesn't work. So after we get to inspired action, the number 5 is gratitude for what is happening. This is a big one. That means the dark forest. How do I be grateful for the dark forest? Well, I'll explain all of this. Number 6 is service. Diving into service. This is where we're going to work through a bunch of karma that's not letting us have $1 million. This is the decluttering. This is the freeing. This is the going and helping someone for no reason. This is the pay it forward. This is the volunteer work. This is the lending an ear to a friend. This is, doing anything for the planet, because that's going to rebalance your karma and make you align more with freedom. Number 7 is surrendering the outcome. Now, this is where most spiritual people get very stuck, and they think that surrender equals failure. Because I will tell you, on this particular map, you're going to follow towards your highest excitement and joy. It's going to feel like you can't surrender, you can't give up control. But I'm telling you, if the soul really wants to experience freedom and the mind is using money as a carrot, and you think that only money is going to be the way that you can get to the end of the game, then you are going to dive down deep into grief and fear as soon as you lose your job on the way. But losing your job on the way opens up the space for you to become more humble and genuine and loving of yourself, and to pursue more of the things that are more in alignment with who you actually are. And you needed to lose the job in order to have the $1 million, but you don't know that because all you see is the next step. So those are the 7 steps: visualize, decide, imagine, inspired action, gratitude for what is, diving into service, and surrendering the outcome. That's the recipe for manifesting anything you want. And now, if you work with me, I talk a lot about being able to manifest anything that you want in a moon cycle. And that really depends on how much of gratitude and service you move through. Because I will tell you that when you start walking this beautiful treasure hunt that you've created for yourself, you're walking through the pitfalls, the lion's den, the dark forests, and the dark nights, so that you can basically toughen up and learn to move through the lessons that you've set up for yourself in order to know more of yourself, to love more of yourself. So let's look at this as like the lion's den might be your coworkers that you've got to look at and decide whether or not that is something that is healthy for you. It could be your family. It could be a conversation that you're afraid to have, that you know that you need to really have because you need to take your power back and speak your truth. The pitfall could be as you're starting to really build momentum on your treasure hunt, and you're jumping and you're climbing, and all of a sudden you break your leg and you say, I was making so much progress. What happened? I was starting to really go fast. My vibration was starting to really increase, and I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then bam, I break my leg. Well, what if the broken leg was actually part of the treasure map, and you needed to break your leg in order to go into stillness more and learn how to be with yourself and learn how to take care of yourself a little bit better than you had been taking care, and you needed to be out of that job for 30 days that was extremely toxic so that you could raise your vibration so that you could hear your own soul again. So I will tell you that certain pitfalls and certain things that appear negative are going to be on the path of your desire, because you've got to learn certain things about yourself in order to raise the frequency of your energetic signature in order to be a match of that freedom. So breaking your leg is part of having freedom. So say I almost get to the very end and I'm feeling it and I'm doing great and I've overcome the job loss and the bankruptcy and the broken friendships and I've had to leave relationships and I've outgrown people and I'm feeling pretty lonely, but I'm feeling really, really good about myself, and then bam, cancer happens. And you're saying, okay, this can't be right. I'm so close. I just got a job offer and they want to pay me 6 figures. And then all of a sudden, I've got cancer. And you say to yourself, that's where that surrender part comes, where you have to basically let go and say, this too has to be part of the plan. And instead of hating your body for having cancer and hating the environment for giving you cancer and hating everything that's going on around you, you dive into living in the moment. And you dive into loving the ones that are around you unconditionally, because you realize that you don't have a lot of time. And you fall in love with your body and you start feeding it really, really well. And you start taking care of the environment better, because you realize that we've got to stop poisoning ourselves. And you find all of this inner strength and this magic, and you beat cancer, and then you make $10 million going on tour talking about how you did it. That is the treasure map. And I'm not saying that you're all going to get cancer on the way to your $1 million. I am trying to be over dramatic to have a little bit of fun today. But what I am saying is the things that you feel are going wrong are part of the dance. They are part of your treasure map. They are the obstacles that you need to move through and overcome in order to raise your personal vibration, in order to be a match of the desire that you have always wanted. Some souls need to learn humility. And there's nothing more humbling than losing your job, or losing a relationship that you thought was it, or, losing a part of your body, or losing something that you thought you couldn't live without. Because part of the treasure map is also, as you go through and totally raise your vibration, you've got to heal and let go of anything that is in the way of freedom, which means by the time you get to the end, you will be the essence of freedom. And the money won't matter, but the money will be there, because everything that is free, you will be a vibrational match to. And everything that you've overcome will be part of your toolkit, and it will be your strength, and it will be your wisdom, and it will be your compassion, because some of the things that we have embedded into the treasure map for all of our sake, because some of the common things we've all come to learn here is humility and compassion and patience and being of service and belief and understanding that we generate belief. And we've come here to learn self-love. And there's nothing better than being and going through a really, really hard time, and instead of going down with that hard time, you dive into service and help someone else with their hard time. This is your shortcut. These are your cheat codes. The gratitude aspect is going to be your cheat code. If you can be have gratitude for walking into the lion's den, having gratitude for the woman who won't love you or the man who won't give you the time of day, and understand that that's part of it, and what you need to do is give yourself the love that you're so desperately needing from someone else, that will take you 10 steps forward. It's kind of like pull out Candyland with your kids and look at how the game is played. You can take 10 steps forward, or you can slide back down the ladder. If you meet an opposition that is there to test, challenge, and make you stronger and more loving of a soul, and you don't choose to move through the fire of that event, you will go back to the beginning. And although you have a lot more wisdom, so you'll be able to move much faster in the game, you will go back to what feels like the beginning, and that's where you start feeling like, why am I re-experiencing this again? So I'm asking you to find the pain within, find the hard times within, find the struggle within, and sit with yourself and your internal guidance and ask yourself, what is the message you have for me? Am I needing to learn humility? Am I needing to learn self-love? Am I needing to learn patience? Do I need to be of service? Do I need to be more grateful? And if you ask yourself that and you get answers, then take that as your GPS that you've had all along that will begin to accelerate you, because you do not manifest things by sitting in your house imagining it. You manifest things by setting a solid intention and then moving through inspired action, staying in gratitude for all the hell that you walk through on the way there, diving into service and helping people on their way as you're moving forward, believing in yourself, developing self-love, and then surrendering to whatever happens, even if it feels like the broken leg is going to totally destroy your life, knowing that it's part of the dance. This is how you create anything you want in a moon cycle. I hope that this was a joyful experience, and I hope that it starts to make sense of some of the things that you've been going through, because I know once you set an intention, you can ride that wave of being high for a week, and then all of a sudden you hit your first opposition, you hit your first tar pit, you hit your first dark night, you hit your first dark forest, you find yourself in the lion's den, and you feel like you've been defeated. Well, I'm going to tell you, you were exactly in the right place to move 10 steps ahead. So embrace all your dark times with gratitude. And when you're feeling really lost, I promise you, if you just get out of your mind, drop into your heart, and go be of service for someone, that feeling will pass. You will move right back on your path, and you will accelerate very, very quickly. Now, the more you do this through love and gratitude and service, the less the lessons and obstacles are, which means when you approach the tar pit, you don't have to walk through the tar pit. You actually see a rope swinging, and you can jump on it and jump over it. So depending on your depth of self-love and following inspired action and actually listening to your GPS, the obstacles will be less challenging, and there will be always, always, always something in the darkness to provide light for you, which means if you find yourself in the darkest night, you will have a flashlight, and that might come in the form of a cat, a dog, someone who's just come out of the blue to help you, an opportunity, some money, some food, just you have to be aware that you've hit an angelic, and as you've hit a dark night, you will have an angel provided for you. And angels come in all shapes and sizes, and even in inanimate objects, and they will be right there with you on the way. You need to know that sometimes those things are just for you for a reason, or for the season, or for the moment. And as you outgrow that need for your way to be lit, when you find your own light switch and turn that on, sometimes our angels move to others that need them more. So our cat will run away and find a new home for a couple of weeks, or our favorite crystal will disappear, and that just means that it needs to be the lighting the way for someone else, because you've turned your own light on. So as you move through the treasure hunt, you will be provided with every single tool that you need. You have to only know that your power is in the moment, and recognizing that if it's showing up as part of the game. And all you need to do is say, wow, I broke my leg. That must mean I need to sit in bed and love on myself and journal a little bit, and maybe make a few calls, and daydream again, because I've been so busy, and not drive in traffic, and not be with that coworker for a little bit, so that I can recalibrate with who I am. And then as soon as that leg heals, I will be in a completely different mindset, which means that I'll have a very strong leg that I can now run the path with. I didn't have a lot of time today for this podcast, so I spoke very quickly. So if you need to listen to this again, I hope that this was a joyful outlook on a different style of understanding law of attraction and manifestation and the power of intention, because as soon as you set the intention, it is given. When you ask, it is always given. But where it is, you have to go and align with it. It's not going to come down to where you are in a low vibration. You've got to rise above who you've been and overcome certain things and clear certain traumas and karmas in your way, but you can do it. I know you can. And you wouldn't have the desire if you didn't have the answer and the roadmap buried within your DNA. You can never desire anything that you can't have. But it's when you put expectations on how it has to come is when you feel you have failed. I will be creating an animation that goes with this because it's going to be super fun to watch this unfold as a visual type of video game. I hope this brightened your day. I know that the energy of April is very, very, it's very negative this month, what collectively I'm feeling. And so this might be a way for you to feel not so lost today and look at your life as a big treasure hunt and know that if you can create the treasure within your own soul's desire, then you have the map right within you, and you just need to learn to trust yourself, and you need to learn that anything that comes your way is for you, and it's part of the journey. And I promise you, if you have that attitude, you won't get stuck. You won't get stuck in the tar pit. You won't get stuck in the dark forest. You will move through it with grace and wisdom, and you will help 100 people in your path as you go. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the spring. April's almost over. And fall into gratitude for your journey right now, and just love it. Love the darkness, and you will find the light. Until next time.
Thank you for joining Jessica on this transcending episode. Email us directly at jessicaalstrom@gmail.com with your questions and personal challenges you would like addressed on the show. And join us on next week's podcast. You are not alone, and remember, your higher self speaks to you through people, places, circumstances, and events.